Hey everyone. So you know how it is, right? It's December, everyone's gearing up for the holidays, and it seems like everyone is getting sick with something. We're going to try to figure out why that is today. We're diving deep into this NBC Chicago article all about a virus hunter at Abbott. Sounds kind of intense, right?
It is, but also super fascinating. Like, this article really dives into what these scientists are doing to track and understand all the viruses going around.
Exactly, and it seems like they've got their work cut out for them this year. Seriously. Between RSV, the flu, and COVID, it's like a respiratory virus convention out there.
You're telling me, and don't forget about strep throat. That one's been making the rounds too.
Oh yeah, for sure. So much for spreading holiday cheer, right? More like spreading germs.
Well, the article actually talks about that. The virus hunter they interviewed, Mary Rogers, she warned that all that holiday travel we're doing could turn regional hotspots into nationwide outbreaks.
So basically, if you're planning to fly home for the holidays, you might be bringing back more than just souvenirs.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so we've got the usual suspects covered, but the article also mentioned something a little more unexpected: whooping cough.
Oh, yeah, that's been a big concern lately. Especially for young children, they're more vulnerable to complications.
And cases in Illinois are at a 20-year high, right?
That's what the article said. Yeah, kind of scary.
Definitely something for parents to be aware of. But wait, there's more. The article also mentioned norovirus. You know, the winter vomiting bug.
Yeah, that one's no fun. Apparently, there have been several small outbreaks in Chicago just this month.
So is it really a winter bug, or is it just more common this time of year because people are cooped up inside more?
Well, it can spread any time of year, but yeah, close quarters definitely help it spread faster.
Makes sense, like on cruise ships.
Exactly. But it's not just cruise ships. It can happen anywhere people are close together.
Okay, good to know. So we've got whooping cough, norovirus, plus all the usual respiratory suspects. Anything else we should be worried about?
Well, the article does mention one more virus that's on the radar of virus hunters, avian influenza, also known as bird flu.
Bird flu.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh, that sounds serious.
It can be, but so far, most human cases in the U.S. have been mild. It's mostly affecting people who work with birds, like on poultry farms.
So not something the average person needs to worry about too much.
Not at this point, no. But Rogers, the virus hunter, she makes a good point in the article. She says, and I quote, "We've learned one thing through COVID, and that is that we can't assume anything."
Yeah, that's true. Viruses can mutate and change quickly.
Exactly. And there's already been one severe case in Louisiana that landed someone in the hospital.
Okay, now that's a little unsettling. So what about COVID? Any updates on that front?
Yeah, the article mentions that the dominant strain in the U.S. right now is the XEC variant.
Another new variant. Geez, it's hard to keep up.
I know, right?
But at least this one's considered low risk by the World Health Organization,
That's
right?
what they're saying, yeah.
But still, with all these viruses flirting around, how are we supposed to know what we're actually dealing with?
That's the tricky part. A lot of these viruses have similar symptoms like fever, cough, sore throat.
So it could be COVID, it could be the flu, it could be RSV.
Exactly. It's hard to tell without a test.
Testing is key then.
Definitely.
Well, this is all pretty overwhelming.
It can be.
It's good to know what's out there, but it also makes you realize just how vulnerable we are to these tiny invaders.
It definitely makes you think, right?
All right, well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into the world of viruses so far. It's a complex and ever-changing landscape, but the good news is we have the knowledge and tools to navigate it safely.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned, everyone, because we're going to talk more about what we can all do to stay healthy in this viral jungle. And we'll be back after a quick break.
You know, it's interesting when you think about how we view viruses. Like, we used to think of them as pretty simple, right? But
Yeah.
the more we learn about them, the more complex they seem.
It's true. It's like they're constantly adapting and evolving, always one step ahead.
Exactly. They've been around for billions of years alongside every other life form on Earth. They're masters of survival.
Makes you feel kind of small, doesn't it?
Right.
Like these tiny things can have such a huge impact on our lives.
It really does. And that's why it's so important to understand them. We need to know how they work so we can figure out how to fight them.
And that's where the virus hunters come in. These scientists who are tracking and studying viruses all over the world.
Yeah, they're like the front line in this battle against viruses,
Yeah.
constantly monitoring for any signs of trouble.
It's got to be a tough job, right?
Yeah.
Viruses are always mutating, so they're basically trying to hit a moving target.
It's like a never-ending race. And it's not just about new viruses either. They're also tracking familiar ones like the flu and COVID, which are also constantly changing.
Which is why we need new flu vaccines every year. And why they're talking about updating the COVID vaccine.
Right,
It's like
exactly.
a constant game of cat and mouse.
With really high stakes.
Yeah, no kidding. But it's not all doom and gloom, right? I mean, we do have ways to protect ourselves.
Absolutely. We have vaccines, antiviral medications, and of course, good hygiene practices.
So it's not like we're completely helpless.
Not at all. And the more we know about viruses, the better we can protect ourselves.
Okay, so let's recap what we've learned so far. We're in the middle of respiratory virus season, with all the usual suspects making their rounds, plus a few unexpected guests like whooping cough and norovirus.
Right, and while bird flu isn't a major threat to most people right now, it's something to keep an eye on.
Definitely. And no matter what virus we're talking about, testing is super important,
Hmm?
especially since so many of them have similar symptoms.
Yeah, you really can't tell the difference just by how you're feeling. A fever could mean anything.
So, bottom line, if you're not feeling well, get tested.
Exactly.
Okay, well, on that note, I think it's time to move on to the next part of our discussion, where we'll talk about some practical tips for staying healthy during this viral season, especially with all the holidays coming up.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's get practical. What can we actually do to protect ourselves from all these viruses, especially with the holidays coming up and everyone getting together?
Right, that's a big concern for a lot of people. But honestly, a lot of it comes down to common sense, like good hygiene.
You mean like washing our hands?
Exactly. It sounds simple, but it's so important. Think about all the things you touch throughout the day. Doorknobs, your phone, elevator buttons.
Oh yeah, you're right. I don't even want to think about all the germs I pick up.
And then you touch your face, and boom! You've just given those viruses a free pass into your body.
Yikes. Okay, I'll be more diligent about hand washing from now on. What about masks? Are those still a good idea?
Well, the article doesn't really talk about masks specifically, but I think it's a personal choice, really. If you're in a crowded place or if you're around someone who's more vulnerable, it can't hurt to wear one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
Better safe than sorry. Okay, so we've got hygiene covered. What else can we do?
Well, vaccinations are still our best defense against a lot of these viruses.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm all caught up on my flu shot and COVID boosters.
Good. Those are so important for preventing serious illness.
It's amazing how effective vaccines are when you think about it.
It really is. They basically teach your immune system how to fight off these viruses.
Like a training program for your body's defenses.
Exactly.
But what about beyond vaccines? Does our overall health affect how susceptible we are to viruses?
Absolutely. Your immune system needs all the support it can get. So, eating a healthy diet, getting enough sleep, managing stress.
You know, all the things we know we should be doing.
Right. But they really do make a difference.
Okay, so we're washing our hands, getting vaccinated, taking care of ourselves. But what happens if we do start feeling sick? What's the best course of action?
Well, first of all, don't try to power through it.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that. I always think, it's just a little cold, I can handle it.
I know, we all do it. But it's actually better to rest and give your body a chance to recover.
And stay home so we don't spread the germs to other people. But how do we know if it's just a cold or something more serious?
That's where testing comes in again. It's so hard to tell just based on symptoms.
Yeah, they all kind of blend together.
Exactly. So if you're not sure, it's always best to get tested.
Okay, good advice. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from understanding how viruses work to learning how to protect ourselves.
It's been quite the deep dive.
It has, and it's a good reminder that we're all in this together. We need to look out for ourselves and each other.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, that's all for today's deep dive into the world of viruses. Stay healthy out there, and we'll catch you next time.